right, there we go.
Yeah.
I'll start off with who I am. I'm Marty McClendon. I am running for Lieutenant Governor. We didn't make it through a 12-person field to be the top two. I told Susan Hutchinson that I said, you can't run as a conservative, you can't run as a Republican or a Christian. I go, yes, you can. You just haven't given the state someone to run to give you line and vote. And we believe that we proved that through the primary. Now that said, I grew up in Quincy, when actually in Grand Coulee Dam, so I'm from over here. Grand Coulee Dam, my graduating class was 95 kids. So some people that's big, most people that's pretty small. But the thing about Grand Coulee is you knew your neighbors, you knew that you kept your word, right? You finished what you started. There was very few rules. We could have gotten in trouble from those things too. But also where I went camping in Okanagan every summer, where I earned my Eagle Scout. And I tell people that too, because it's like about everybody got their Eagle Scout. Apparently not. Apparently less than 1% that enters Boy Scouts actually get it. And less than 1/10 of 1% get it before they're 18, and we did it in 15. So went to UW. Sorry about that. We're not in Wazoo here. I was the only kid in Grand Coulee that went to UW. Everybody else went to Wazoo or Eastern. I was being a rebel. So there we go. So pre-med, got into healthcare. Spent 13 years as an anesthesia tech. I tell the story. I don't tell it enough, but it's basically I work open heart surgery in every hospital in Seattle. And when a time when they were opening up a new field. And so I was one of 5 people statewide that can do what I could do. And so I was literally working every other night, every other weekend. There was 2 weekends in a row where from Friday day until Monday morning straight through. So you can't do that anymore, but it was part of who else could do it? So anyway, met my beautiful wife. I have 3 beautiful kids, but at that time she's a nurse, still is. Entered in real estate. Figured something, hey, easy, real estate in times, right? Talk about growing your faith. That's all I'm going to say. So, in the last 17 years, I've been selling real estate. For about 10 of those years, I managed and brokered offices. At one point in time, we had 9 offices, 4 ownership groups, 150 different agents, where I was the main trainer and leader for that. And then beyond that, so back to selling real estate now. I ran for office before. The last 3 years I've been pastoring a church in Gig Harbor. It's a little small little family church. And the last 2 years I've been hosting a radio show in Seattle called Eyes on Washington. The long story, it's a lot of things, but it comes down to relationship, right? Everything we do in life, whether it be in real politics or real estate or healthcare or even church, is about relationship. So if you love God, you can love your neighbor, right? And so my entire campaign, this whole time has been, I'm a conservative, but it means that I'm going to be walking in the golden rule. Meaning this office of Lieutenant Governor and the campaign has to be that way, where we engage people, because people have 3 basic needs. If you know this, is to be heard, respected, and valued. And all across the state, I'm saying, when's the last time you felt heard, respected, and valued by your government? And they always laugh, right? It's like, never, right? Imagine going to the DMV and saying, hey, how can I help you, versus what it is. And so I want to change, so if we just change the jerseys from Democrat to Republican, we've done nothing, really. But if we change the culture of it and saying when we restore power back down to the local level, that's what we need to be. I mean, because we're there to serve, and right now it's governing. When we have state agencies actually hiring lobbyists with our taxpayer dollars to lobby our legislators to grow their own agency, we've lost sight of what they're there for, right? It's no longer about how do we serve people in the way they want to be served. So there's a couple ideas I talk about on this campaign trail as Lieutenant Governor, because I'll talk about the duties in a second, but every state agency has a budget, Marion says. At the end of the year, if they don't spend it, they lose it. Does it make any sense to anybody? I mean, you're a college guy,
It's like
right?
the government, use it or lose it.
Right,
Yep.
right. So but at the end of the year, they buy reams of paper and computers and whatever. It just
Money.
doesn't make any sense, right? The federal government does the same thing. And people kind of go, well, it's the government. Well, it's not the government, right? I've talked to Mark Milosha and Bill Bryant and many senators as well. They're on board. Let's fix it. We're already budgeting for the money. It's already in the budget. So you cannot lose it no matter what. Your budget's fixed. However, for every dollar you save through cost savings, innovation, or streamlining the process, delivering the same services, verified by the auditors next year, 10% of that savings will go back to the employees as a bonus, right? Because it's not new money, it's just reallocated money. 20% can be reallocated for that unpaid pensions they aren't funding right now, right? Unfunded. And 70% can be reallocated for education, which we need more money for education, right? Well, we take the money we don't need to spend and reallocate it for education. Win-win, right? And then there's the stick part of it. If they overspend their budget, then they lose that percentage to the next budget cycle. So it incentivizes them to do the right thing versus the wrong thing. You know, it's common sense, but we have buy-in, something we can do the first year as leadership. Another thing I talk about, the lieutenant governor is supposed to be the ambassador to the state. And yet, for 20 years, people go, who is a lieutenant governor? What does a lieutenant governor do? Because they haven't done much besides their constitutional duties. One of the things I've promised to do is be the ambassador is go and engage local communities like this. Okay? As the ambassador, you go in and you get local government leaders, right? Like your commissioner here, right? And your representatives. And you get your local business leaders. You get your local church leaders and say, you affect everybody's way of life in multiple different ways. What are the 3 to 5 things you want to address in your community that Olympia is not addressing? And then is there a local solution for it? Is there a business solution for government? Is there something that the faith-based community can deliver in a more efficient way than government can? In over at Gig Harbor, there are 2 groups, a government group and the faith-based group delivering the same services to the same home population. Yet they can't work together. The rules are against it. It's ridiculous, right? So what I say is if we can find a local solution, great. And if there's something in the way, like a rule or a regulation like that, I'll take it back to the Senate and say, Senate, this is what Pullman needs to fix their own problems. Let's help them do that. That's the kind of service we're talking about as a lieutenant governor you can do. Because every legislator represents their district, and they spend their entire time focused on it right there. You know, the governor and lieutenant governor have a statewide view. So you should be an advocate for the whole state. Having grown up in Eastern Washington, living in Western Washington, and having a varied career of different experiences, I can speak to a lot of different things. I talked earlier about my grandfather on my mom's side being a farmer. My dad's side were ranchers, right? When we talk about land rights and property uses and water wells, I know what I'm talking about. When we talk about the last 17 years in real estate, I understand how important these taxes are on property and how it's important to keep it low. Those are all key things. Now let's go back to what the lieutenant governor does. Lieutenant governor fills in for the governor when the governor's gone. You know, for the last 20 years, that's been about 90 days a year. You have the full power and authority of the governor almost 1/4 of every year. It's crazy, right? You preside over the Senate, which means you bring both sides to the table, right? If you're all fighting for your own little pieces of the pie, right? How about a lieutenant governor says, hey, let's look at what's best for the state. Let's find win-win solutions where we've come to a consensus in a timely order and we don't have 7 special sessions in a row. You also chair the Rules Committee, which means every piece of legislation that comes through the Senate comes through rules. Meaning, right, there's a lot of gavel power there. You don't want to, overuse it, but there are times where you can say, you know what, this is a good bill, we need to move forward, or that's a bad bill we don't want to see. You chair the economic development and foreign trade. So anything that states to do with economic development or trade goes through this committee, and you chair that committee. A lot of power, right? A lot of authority. 41 different committees and commissions across the state are appointed by the lieutenant governor, including the building council. Can you imagine putting a conservative-minded person with business background on the building council versus someone else trying to restrict your rights? It only makes common sense, right? So, and then, this is important. Now, the guy I'm running against is an ultra Seattle attorney, liberal, progressive, a guy that has very narrow agenda, right? And we're conservative. The lieutenant governor breaks all tie votes. In a state that we're so divided on many of these issues and narrowly win or lose, the tie-breaking vote is a very important thing. So I have to show you that when I'm endorsed by the NRA, when I'm endorsed by the Farm Bureau, when I have this background, when you know that I'm already come out very strong on my values, your First Amendment, your Second Amendment, your 10th Amendment rights, all those things, that when it comes down to it, I'm going to vote the right way on the tie-breaking vote. So, and my role and the whole thing to sum this up is to serve those that are already there. Everyone, both Democrat and Republican, have been elected by their peers, their communities, right? My job is to make sure that they're pointing in the right direction, that we have a plan for the future, and we get things done as we're reporting to it, and quell most of the partisanship, right? And so, all that in a nutshell, there's a lot more to go. I have my material over there. Obviously, we were in the race. But right after the primary, when no one thought we'd win, we came through. They did a poll, and we were 4 points away from our opponent. He had spent $700,000 in the primary. Okay? He's raising lots of money. But I will tell you this. He's been quoted as this, and we've used this before. My opponent says that he will work with the Democratic caucus to advance a very progressive agenda throughout all 4 corners of the state. Okay? And his top 2 priorities as lieutenant governor is to expand abortion care and to get more LGBTQ elected. I go, I'm great, that's happy for him, but that's not a thing that represents the entire state at all, right? And so my message is the golden rule, is that we can solve these problems and solutions, and most of them is at the local level. We want to restore government to where its proper role, where it's serving the people, not being the lord of the people. And so here's this outside guy who's not afraid to say that I'm a Christian, or a conservative, or a Republican, and we can solve these things and bring real solutions to it, where people are going, yeah, that makes sense.
Because we have it, right? You know, so part of that too, and I'll finish with this too, is Mary knows this too. Why is it that if I'm elected, when I'm elected, right, and I have a background in healthcare, real estate, ministry, whatever, but I'm making decisions on fisheries and wildlife that I have no experience in, right? You know, yet we have all these legislators doing that, right, on cost of space, and they think they know best. That's why we have regulations that hurt our forest fire, I mean, make forest fires worse, right? We don't manage the forest right. Why aren't we engaging subject matter experts? Why isn't our government actually engaging our business community and saying, what do we need to do to make sure that you're able to hire more people, right? Or engaging the tech community and say, help us streamline a process so more people can testify in our Senate. That's the stuff I'm committed to doing, about engaging community, being a true leader, a servant leader versus a boss. So that's it for me. I'm Marty McClendon. I'm hopefully going to be your next Lieutenant Governor. Yes, Gordon.